Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Eye of the Watchers podcast, where we give you all the support and insight you need to get hyped about League of Legends esports. I'm Sam, aka Just Casual. Here I have with me Manny, aka Manster. Yo. And we are going to be talking about what the hell happened on week 9, because it was a freaking long weekend. We're going to be talking about playoffs and our predictions for that. So stay tuned for all that information if you're interested. I think we will have timestamps this week in the episode description. So if you want to skip to that, check the description below. So let's start with it. Week 9. I guess first thing we should talk about, C9 and Echo Fox dropped hard, especially like if we're talking about the end of the split. Echo Fox was on the decline, C9 was on the decline, which made all these tiebreaker scenarios happen. What do we think about Cloud9 and Echo Fox right now?
I still think they're good teams.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, we were hyping them up a lot because like halfway through the split they were 8-1, right?
Yeah.
Each, I'm pretty sure. And after that, they only won 3 games. So, you know, like that's kind of I think Cloud9 went 3-6 and Echo Fox went 4-5.
Yeah, not good. I mean, they pretty much had a lot of 1-1 weeks, if not 0-2 weeks. So that let everyone catch up.
It's because I mean, you know, we were sure, like, yes, it was going to be an 18-0, and a lot of us put C9 very highly the past 2 weeks, but I think there were still warning signs. Because 2 weeks when we did our last episode for predictions, there was the first time we saw C9 and Echo Fox really drop the ball against teams that they genuinely shouldn't have, right? I mean, C9 lost to COG, right? And I think so did Fox. So it's like there were clear warning signs, and I don't know if these teams have been until, you know, I don't know if they've been just completely underperforming, but I think it's a mixture of both, right? They weren't able to adapt properly to the new patch. As this is 8.5, the rest of the playoffs will be played in as well. They didn't adapt, right? And that, like you said, let other teams just skyrocket up there.
Yeah. It's been interesting because Echo Fox decided to do something, and I actually want to talk about this. We were talking about this a little bit before we started the record button, but Echo Fox decided to play with 2 subs this last week, and I think the official statement on that was to kind of like let them rest because they just didn't really care about that first seed or the playoff bye, and they thought they were pretty confident they would still get it. So we saw Demonte in the mid lane replacing Phoenix, or substituting, Phoenix, and Papa Chow? Papa Chow giving Adrian a rest. And we actually saw them do pretty well. Echo Fox went 1-1 this week. So they did win a game with those subs.
Technically, they went 1-2.
1-2, yeah, with the tiebreakers. And I'm actually kind of suspicious about this because we have heard PR statements that are like, hey, we are just trying this out. And then next week's like, hey, look who just got kicked off the roster. It is playoffs, so it sounds pretty crazy to switch up the rosters at this point, especially when you end the split second place anyways. But what are your thoughts on this, Manny?
I mean, I think especially Demonte, I think, is very flexible with putting him in Phoenix. He played really well against some really tough opposition, right? And I don't know. I think like it's okay, but it is kind of suspicious. And I think the only main reason it's suspicious is because we don't really see this, right? The only other team we'd seen this with was FlyQuest, because they weren't really up there fighting necessarily.
Yeah.
But their academy teams were up there. So they were like the closest teams in terms of kind of like skill level.
Between the academy and main roster?
Yeah, between academy and main roster. And we saw that, and I mean, we said that it might have not been the best, right? But doing this so late, it is kind of suspicious, but I think at the same time, it might be an overreaction from people on the outside because we don't know everything, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think like it's still decent, right? It's still, they still played well, and I think it's just they're rookies. Oh well, Papa Chow is a rookie. Demonte has had some practice, and it shows, right? Um, so I mean, I know both of them were pretty, or especially Demonte had a tweet of like he was really upset, and it's like he shouldn't be. Like he played really well, you know. I mean, he still got his team into a bye, right? There was a chance that it would have been a 7-way tie or 6-way tie for first. But Echo Fox didn't lose their first game, right? And the second game they played was against a surging 100 Thieves. So
yeah,
I don't think it's like super negative, but it is going to be interesting. We don't know who's going to start in playoffs, and I think that's kind of like the most worrying something.
Yeah. I mean, we could assume that it's probably Phoenix and Adrian based off of that statement. You know, they're just like, we're giving some of our players a break. And I was actually surprised it was Phoenix and Adrian. And that's kind of why it worries me. Like, I would expect maybe Hooney and Dardoch or something. But because you have these two players that have had, actually, a lot of their players have had attitude issues in the past, but two players that have had attitude issues and might not be performing the best, which makes it a little suspicious. That being said, another point I want to make about Echo Fox is that I always feel like when we've seen in the past, players kind of try to game the system of the end of the week and not worrying, or end of the season and not worrying about where their standings are. I think we saw CLG do this and like just forfeit like 3 weeks or 2 weeks in a row in boot camp in Korea. This was like season like 3 or 4. And then they lost the first playoff game and they got kicked out when they were like first or second place, I think, taking their hiatus. And I think there's been other teams that have kind of checked out at the end of the season and they've been punished for it. So that kind of worries me about Fox, because I feel like they could have just taken the last week easy with Phoenix and Adrian and just kind of tested stuff out and expected to lose or go 1-1. But they actually decided to take a break. And I don't know, vacations always seem to worry me when we talk about LCS, you know?
Yeah, it wasn't too kind for G2 going to MSI. I mean, I think again, this is something with franchising, right? We don't know exactly how teams are going to function with it. Like maybe 1 or 2 years down the line, this is normal, right? I mean, you always hear about in the NFL and other sports, usually in the NFL, like the last week, if you already clinched your spot, you just let your guys take a week off. You know, you make sure they don't get injured. You know, like. It's kind of like another week for them to get better. That way, you know, they're strong. It's just going to be interesting how we see it in the LCS. I think it's, again, it has had bad connotations, but I don't think it's necessarily too worrisome this time around.
I'm actually really disappointed we didn't see like super troll picks this week. Like, I mean, Optic Gaming did pull out AP Ezreal, but then they won. So, I don't know.
I mean, it was a troll pick, but at the same time, I think everyone was like cheering on for CLG, right? Everyone's like, yeah, CLG 6-0 finish. It's going to be hype. And then TSM beat C9 and Team Liquid beat whoever they had to verse, or Team Liquid beat C9, TSM beat Golden Guardians, and CLG were like, well, it's pointless to even try now. And then they lost to Optic Gaming. And it's just like, it was sad. I mean, I wish we saw some more troll picks, but there was literally no room for it aside from like Optic Gaming.
Yeah.
Because everywhere else, it had playoff picture like connotations, including the first game of Sunday, which was C9 versus FlyQuest, which C9 lost, right? And that caused a huge 5-way tie that made our predictions go boom.
Yeah.
Right? Like we were like, oh yeah, C9 is gonna do this, dude. I had the bold prediction that Fox was gonna make it the top 2. I was wrong. It was C9 that was gonna make the top 2.
Close enough.
Close enough. I think I was the only one that said one of the top 2 wasn't gonna be in the top 2. But yeah, I mean, 4-way tie was just boom, right? Like blew up the predictions. And it was due to a lot of things, right? And I think the teams that struggled early just were on fire late, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about we talk about C9 and Fox starting off the split 8-1 and then going 3-6 and 4-5 respectively. But you have teams like what's their name? 100 Thieves. There we go. That ended the split 8-1, or TSM that ended the split 7-2. It just, like the slump and then the highs were like even to make sure like it went perfectly, right? For this to be like a crazy week. It was a crazy week. It was so good. I recommend everyone that didn't watch the games this weekend to, at the bare minimum, to watch the highlights, because they were actually really exciting games, especially that last day.
Absolutely. Yeah, we saw a lot of I think the experienced brands do really well the second half of the split. I mean, like CLG, even though they dropped the ball, they did really well ending the split. They went.
Yeah,
I think
until like this last week. Yeah,
yeah.
No, but it was good. They had four wins in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had 4 wins in a row after we boldly predicted that they weren't going to win for the rest of the split, right?
Yep.
And they didn't beat easy opposition, right? They beat C9, they beat Fox. Like he played really well.
Yep.
And it just came to like this last week when I think if either Team Liquid or TSM had lost, CLG possibly does go 5-1, if not 6-0, right? But once they lost and there was no way to get into playoffs, they like kind of like dropped the ball,
that
right?
Last
they were
win
like,
doesn't matter. This last loss, I mean,
yeah,
yep,
yeah.
I feel you.
So it was just all over the place. But again, it still meant stuff for other teams to like team solo mid just destroy them that last game, and it's just like, I don't know. It's interesting. Like looking into playoffs, I'm super excited because I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, it is super exciting. So talking about that, we mentioned 100 Thieves. They ended 8-1. They go off of they just went crazy and they stole that first place spot or deserved it. How good are 100 Thieves? Like their games are definitely interesting to watch. Sometimes you feel like, why didn't they close them out faster? But at the same time, I feel like if you watch them really closely, you realize that they're super clean, but maybe not clean enough to finish those games faster. I'm not really sure. What do you think?
So they're definitely the top 2 teams going into playoffs. And I don't mean that even in standings. I think disregarding standings, we probably will see, and we'll talk more about predictions, but I think TSM and 100 Thieves are probably the most dangerous teams to encounter in playoffs. I do not want to think about Prolly or Song in a best of 5, best of 3 scenario. Like that's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like they're just on fire, right? And it's like they had some really clean games. But for example, like against Echo Fox, that was a long game. It was close, right? And there was a lot of execution mistakes in some aspects, right? And it's not even like you I say that to you. Who do you think will have execution mistakes? Probably Cody-san, probably Medios, right? Maybe Ryu someday, right? Was one of their big like missing pieces. And I love Someday, right? Like I think it's impossible to not love Someday. Especially after watching the Heist episode on him. But it's hard, right? It still feels like this team is very one-dimensional of if we win bot, we win game. But there's one team that you can't do that too easily against, and that's TSM, right? Like Sven and Mithy, yeah, maybe they had a rough beginning of the game, but at no point did Mithy hard lose a game, like a lane, maybe aside from the last Liquid game, but they play the map better, right? So it's going to be interesting how like they iron out, especially with this week off, right? And I've said this before, it's so much easier to prepare for one person once you know who it is, right?
Yeah.
Especially like the week before. So for example, let's say 100 Thieves, whoever they verse, right? And TSM make it on the other side, they're probably going to be scrimming a lot, right? Like 100 Thieves and TSM, they probably will scrim a good amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe them and Echo Fox, like they'll scrim the other side of the bracket.
Yep.
And just being able to prepare for one team and having a week for that and making sure you prepare for 3 matches is so much easier than preparing for 2 teams, in 1 week and for 2 different days and a best of 1. So I think they are a strong team. Someday still worries me. And if that doesn't happen, then like just how will mid function once Ryu doesn't get Rise? Because I did make my bold prediction 2 weeks ago that if Ryu got Rise, that game was over. I'm pretty sure every time Ryu got Rise, they won that game. So
yeah, I mean, it's interesting because 100 Thieves has this really annoying play style, right? At least that's what their long games and their notable games have been those like really long drawn out ones where Ryu is on Rise and just kind of like playing around with everyone on the map and like just like it's really hard to play against 100 Thieves because I think when you look at their macro, it's really, really clean. Meteos is spending a lot, like they're all spending a lot of time warding and clearing vision and always taking like the easy play. Like they just wait. Oh, someone's out of position. Here's the Tilly ult. Oh, here's the Baron take. Like in like 5 seconds. It's just crazy. And that's definitely something really hard to deal with when it's not just a team that's going to try to force siege and like fight you 5v5 because at least you can kind of outplay them in a 5v5 or take advantage of a bad engage and stuff like that. So yeah, I really like 100 Thieves. Like you mentioned, I think Someday is scary because if you just talk about like a Someday Hanser or Someday Huni matchup, if Sunday misses a rupture off of a gank that's supposed to be clean, like with the Skarner, and we saw Skarner and Cho'Gath or Meteos and Someday not laying their CC right, and that was pretty much all on Someday to time it, and he missed it 3 or 4 times in a row on 3 or 4 ganks in a row in the what game was that? 100 Thieves versus
Echo Fox.
Was it Echo Fox?
Game 1, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay. No, it was a solo one. It was against Clutch Gaming.
Oh, it
At least
was
the one
against,
that I'm talking about.
Yeah. No. You're right, because against Echo Fox, they only played Zach. You're right.
Yeah. So then because of that, it's like you can't do that against Huni if he's like counterpicked you and like playing like something that can kill you, right? Could you imagine missing a skill shot on Huni when he's like,
nah, and just
nope,
he
you're
turns
dead.
it like he turns it for a 2-for-1 or something.
Yeah.
And that's what like you need to worry about. But again, Meteos has been playing out of his mind. Aframo has been playing out of his mind. Cody's son is just putting really like they're asking a lot for Cody's son. And he's been able to deliver consistently.
Yeah,
right?
he's had no like they were mentioning on the stat like there was one game this weekend where it's like, oh my gosh, Cody Sun's worst performance. He had 2 deaths. He hasn't had more than one death. Yeah, he hasn't had more than 1 death in like
the past since like the second half of the squeak.
Yeah,
no, like, it was like that. Like it was the second since they've been going 8-1. He only had 1 game where he died more than once.
That's absolutely
and it was
nuts.
The last day of the season, and it was I think a tiebreaker. It wasn't even the first game. So and he was playing Jhin, right? It's not like he's playing Lucian. It's not like he's playing a safe AD carry. Like no, he's playing Jhin, like a really positioning like and I was watching. I play a lot of Jhin, and I was watching his games, and he really understood the concept of what you need to build against certain matchups. So it was really nice to see. But yeah, I mean, again, with that in mind, it's like they're still very one-dimensional, I feel like, and it's like it feels kind of like the Echo Fox in the first half of the split, in a sense of not as clean in macro, because I will give that to 100 Thieves. Their macro is really immaculate, and it's kind of hard not to have one with Aframo, right? But Echo Fox is the team that you always play through top, and there's no other way about it, right? when teams started abusing their bot lane, there was nothing to do about it. They lost so many games just purely on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if that happens on the Sunday side, right? What if he is massively behind and it's a cho'Gath that doesn't matter, right? He's not tanky enough. He's died like 3 times in a row. Like, it could happen, right? So it's just it's something scary, but I also think just this extra week it'll be fine. So I think they're still one of the strongest, if not the strongest team going in for sure.
Yeah. All right. So what is actually one more thing I want to talk about too. The one thing that I think is absolutely amazing with 100 Thieves is that you have a good coach that's able to draft like just really good comps and not necessarily super simple comps. He drafted like, I remember against the TSM game against the Galio, like Camille engaged, like 100 Thieves played that really long game, but they seemed like they were in control the whole time and they were really smart about how they played against TSM comp. Probably comes up with these comps, drafts them, and then not only do they have a winning comp, but 100 Thieves, all their 5 players can play that. I think we saw early in TSM's split where Song is doing really well in drafting, but TSM wasn't able to execute on that. Second part of the split, that has changed because I think they've simplified stuff and they've been getting a lot better. But 100 Thieves show that they can draft and play that comp.
Yeah, I
Did
mean,
I hurt you?
No. I completely agree. I was just gonna say, you said they've been playing it a lot better. I'm like, holy shit, they have.
Yeah,
and
complete 360.
And I think it's the time to ask the age-old question: Is it so true that the 3 certainties of life are death, taxes, and TSM? Because holy shit, right? Like, I know. We talked about it before the show. You weren't really able to see all the games because you fell asleep. I tried to be a trooper and I was just like, I think at one point I was just mindlessly going, this is League of Legends. And I'm just like, I've been watching for 10 hours in a row. I was like, holy shit, so much. But TSM like looked terrifying, right?
Yes.
And we were talking about macro and the game before they played Team Liquid, and I don't want to spend too much time on this because we'll just talk more about it as we go into like maybe our explanation and predictions of playoffs. But Team Liquid dismantled C9 in a 1-3-1 composition, right? They played the map really well. They understood. Pobelter got Rise and again was able to pressure the map and do Rise things the same as Ryu, right?
Mm-hmm.
TSM were like, we're going to have a Tom Kench that has a semi-global ult, and we're just going to hunt that one person down with 3 people, and there's nothing you could do about it. They did not allow Impact or Pobelter to have free time in that like split pushing, right? So that's where it's like, obviously 100 Thieves is going to be able to like prepare for that, but if you're on your A game and you have a good macro as well, that's where those styles could clash and we could see who's the better team fighter and stuff, right? And it's like TSM played that Team Liquid game really well. Mm-hmm. Team Liquid had some mistakes, but it was the inverse of that 100 Thieves when they last played like a week or 2 weeks ago, right? It was like it was a close game, but it didn't feel out of control for TSM at any point, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, Rhino 2 weeks ago said, fuck, dude, if TSM make finals, this shit is scripted. I think it might as well be. Team Liquid finished 4th. TSM, after almost going 0-4, they went 1-3 in the fucking first 2 weeks of the split, end up 3rd anyway. Like, I don't know. This is some juicy scripts, but I'm loving it, right? And I think we should just move on and talk about playoffs themselves, right? Like the matchups we're going to see and how they're going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically playoffs, again, if you've been living under a rock, top 6 teams make playoff. So in the quarterfinals, we have Team Liquid versus C9, and then we have TSM versus Clutch Gaming. And then basically the first and second seeds, which are 100 Thieves and Echo Fox, have that bye. So they don't participate in the quarterfinals, and they automatically get to the semifinals. So, and then things are reseeded to figure out who faces 100 Thieves and Echo Fox, but it's pretty much...
So There's a good way to explain this. So,
All right, go for it.
100 Thieves is number 1. Echo
Mhm.
Fox is number 2. TSM is 3. Team Liquid 4. C9 5 and Clutch Gaming 6, right? So quarterfinals, the way they were seeded was that 3 versus off 6 and 4 versus off 5. So that's Team Liquid versus C9, TSM versus Clutch. The lowest seeded number, or highest seeded number, so highest number, I'm just going to say, so whether it's 4, 5, or 6, will verse 100 Thieves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if TSM wins, that means either Team Liquid or C9 will verse 100 Thieves. Because Echo Fox is second, that means they get like the lower priority. That means the highest seeded or the lowest seeded, whatever you want to think about. So it's like so weird to say lowest seeded, because then that means it should be the lower number. It's weird. But the lower number versus Echo Fox, the higher number versus 100 Thieves. I think it would be the clean cut way of saying it. This also means that 100 Thieves and Echo Fox will go to Miami, whether it is for finals or the 3rd and 4th place match, which is always pretty cool, right? Then get some travel time. And for everyone else, they're already free, right? I mean, we've seen some players already start going to Korea, to home, right? And they'll get some time off before they get ready for summer split. But the first match that will be played will be Team Liquid versus C9 on Saturday, and then on Sunday we get TSM versus Clutch Gaming.
Yep, so we're not skipping a week or anything. It's next weekend. All these matches are best of 5, so all you hardcore fans that are like, best of 1 suck, well, here you go. You're going to see some crazy draft, some crazy evolution throughout the whole playoffs tournaments from quarterfinals to finals, as well as during each match, as it might become 3 games or 5 games. So that's really, really exciting to see where the coaches get to shine. And also Huni playing 5 different champions maybe in the top lane if it goes to best of 5.
I don't know. He's gonna play Cho'Gath
every single time. So I mean, this is gonna be really fun. It's gonna be super fun. And again, like I said about Echo Fox, especially because they have that week bye, like Huni will be practicing all this stuff and finding the cheese. And it's going to be really exciting. And then whoever wins will be the North American representative to go to the mid-seasonal invitations, which will be against the number 1 seeds of every major region and a few other smaller regions that go through play-ins. But we'll do another episode on that. But
for sure.
Anyways, let's move on to the spicy playoff predictions, where we can hopefully be right this time, because
no shot. It's impossible.
Actually, I think we know who the final contenders are, but before we get there,
according to the script,
I'm pretty at least one we know must be a finals contender.
One has to make it.
So the quarterfinals. Let's start with the C9 versus Team Liquid match. Who do you have to win it?
So I have C9 to win with a condition. If C9 are not tilted from going god awful the second half of the split, and again, it sounds like I'm being like super harsh, but going 3-6 is not acceptable if you're supposed to be, the number 1 team in the region. So with that in mind, if C9 are not tilted, I think they might have the edge on Team Liquid. So I will say C9 as my actual answer for the meme. I will say Team Liquid needs to advance, but in theory, C9 should make it.
Yep. And for all you memers, I'm saying Team Liquid, but I actually do think Team Liquid have a chance. I think C9. I wish I looked at the tapes more and did a little more analysis on why they lost these games, because what I'm seeing is Sneaky getting caught out a ton, which is pretty rare, because he's always has always been, before he was actually considered one of the best AD carries, he was always just doing fine, not getting caught, having a decent KDA whether his team wins or loses, right? Now in these last games, it's like Sneaky is all by himself and completely destroyed, or the first person to get caught out. And I think the top lane is really, really important. And I don't think Licorice will be able to dominate Impact hard enough to turn the game around. And with Team Liquid coming up and C9 going down, I'm putting that into consideration, that Team Liquid's buff is stronger than Team Liquid's drop.
So I'll also say like this tweet, which I thought was hilarious, was it said at the beginning of the season and 3 points, right? Sven Scare was the problem. Licorice is a liability, and then C9 lost the off season, and then second part of this split, Sven Scare was the problem. Licorice is a liability. C9 lost the off season. Like it became like, you know, like the honeymoon phase was like, oh, they're amazing, they're doing great. And it's like they haven't adapted. They've been on tilt. I think it's more of like they've been on tilt. And I still don't think Licorice is a good tank player. I think he is really bad on tanks. He doesn't really know how to perform and impact as much as he can. So again, it's like what C9 is going to show up, right? And it's like in a best of 5, maybe Licorice gets banned out, right? And it's like, yeah, maybe Jensen will do great and stuff, but like if you don't find the like tanks in other positions that will still benefit you, Licorice might have a bad time. But Impact has have had rough times as well. Yes, so I don't know. I still feel like C9 is going to be able to pull through, but it'll be interesting. I think this is one of my favorite quarterfinal matches.
Yeah, like when we were doing the show notes beforehand, this was probably the toughest one for at least me, if not both of us, to figure out like who's going to win. Because one, we want the meme, but two, yeah, it's really tough. And I think you made a really nice asterisk condition to kind of save your butt when people clip this and yell at you for being wrong.
Yeah, I'll be like, hey man, they were tilted. Come on, don't please no flame.
Please. Yeah, always gotta get that warranty. But so that's what we think about that matchup. The next quarterfinal match is TSM versus Clutch Gaming. We both agree that TSM's got this. I mean, I guess we haven't talked about Clutch Gaming. Why does Clutch Gaming lose this one?
They've been consistent at best. And we've said the line, right? Man, every time they verse people against like below the line, they win. TSM was below the line. They got rocked in that tiebreaker. Holy hell. But I will say this. Ever since the Clutch went 2-0, this is a best of 5 I wanted to see, because I do want to see Clutch in a best of series, right? Because again, they seem consistent. They seem like a strong team, but they also seem like just your mid-table team, right?
Yeah.
Your mid, like high table team, like it won't necessarily be first, but it's not gonna be dead last, right? So it's gonna be interesting, but I think it's just so tough to put TSM. The way they played this past weekend,
these last few weekends, even.
This last few weekends. I mean, they went 2-0 against C9 and Team Liquid. Then they dismantled Golden Guardians like they were supposed to. They dismantled Counter Logic Gaming like they were supposed to. And then they had to go into tiebreakers and said, oh, Clutch Gaming, you destroyed us. Now it's time we destroy you. And then again, like I mentioned before, like they had a good game against Team Liquid. So realistically, I don't see TSM losing this. Yeah, it is playoffs. Anything can happen, right? Upsets happen all the time. But for a team that has never missed finals, I don't know. Maybe the script is too strong on this one.
Yeah, and when we talk about best of 5s, when we just talk about coaching and drafts, TSM's got the huge advantage unless D-Lim's able to pull off something. I mean, he's brought Clutch Gaming up, but I have not been impressed with his drafts at least this week. I've been paying attention to it a little bit more, and I felt like they didn't get the tools to be proactive, and Clutch Gaming wasn't proactive. So I don't know if it's because of the drafts or their playstyle or even a mixture of both, but I just don't think the draft set them up to do anything except like react and stay passive. And
I also
lose.
think that's due to like Lyra also didn't have a good week. I think he had a really bad week as well. And it's like, it's sometimes tough, right? You could have the best draft in the world, and it's like if your players don't play properly, it sucks. You
Yeah.
can have the worst draft in the world. If you players do even more with it, then it looks amazing, right? It's like, oh, you outdrafted them. It's like it's kind of like the winner loser mentality. It's like you blame it on the draft. It's the easiest thing. It's like, oh, well, they got outdrafted. But I mean, in TSM Legends, I know you said you haven't caught up, and maybe some of you guys haven't caught up. Sven at one point said our coach is smurfing these drafts. It's pretty true. TSM has had really good just overall, right? And Coach Song did really well with Immortals on that aspect.
Yes.
So I'm super excited for this. This is like as excited as I could get for TSM right now, because this is where it comes down to, right? I mean, again, we might talk about, oh well, TSM and playoffs, whatever. Like it at the beginning of the season, even before anything started, it's obvious, it's a given. But seeing this trajectory going upwards, it's like this could be, if we see some good games of fives, this could be a team that, if they do get out of the group stage, which will be their biggest, challenge in international play, they might actually be a force to be reckoned with, right?
Yeah.
And the way they adapted from early to late, maybe that translates from week 1 to 2, right? Maybe they pull a Fnatic where it's like, man, TSM sucked. Dig, they went 0-4. Then wait a minute, they went 4-4 the second week. What the hell? It made it to, it could be something like that. So it's interesting, and I'm excited. I am excited, especially as a fan, of the team. I think it'll be interesting to see how well they do.
We didn't talk about predictions on how many matches they win. I think TSM 3-0's Clutch Gaming.
I think I'll go with a 3-1.
3-1. Oh, okay. What about the C9 versus Team Liquid game?
I think I want to say this goes to this goes the distance, but I'm going to say C9 with 3-1.
I'm going to say 3-2 on this one. I think I think both the coaches are legit, so that's one of the best.
Legit. Yeah, that's
fair. Okay, so in our semifinals, with our predictions, it kind of messes things up, kind of. So we have 100 Thieves versus either Team Liquid or Cloud9. Doesn't matter.
Nope, it doesn't matter. I think 100 Thieves takes it. I'll say I don't think it'll be a 3-0. Because they'll have one game where Someday does the wrong thing and they get exploited by Licorice or Impact, and then they just fucking stomp. I think I'll give them a 3-1. It is semifinals. It's supposed to be closer. I could see it 3-2. Me picking C9. I think 100 Thieves still take it over them. 3-1. I won't do the double bet. 3-1, 3-2. I'll just say 3-1.
Yeah,
100 Thieves.
I'm gonna give 3-1. I mean, 100 Thieves did go 1-1 with every team except Clutch Gaming. I think they went 2-0. Oh no, I take that back. With most of the with the playoff teams, they pretty much went 1-1 except Clutch Gaming, which went 2-0. So I think they all can beat 100 Thieves. And again, that was at the beginning of the split. But I do think that these teams are good enough to still give 100 Thieves a little bit of a scare and make them sweat a little bit. So I think it's a 3-1 as well, whether it's Team Liquid or Cloud9. What about?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure. Real quick, the one team that beat 100 Thieves was Cloud9.
What do you this?
No, I'm trying to think who they lost to.
100 Thieves.
That one loss.
On the second half of the split, wasn't it someone random?
It could have been, but it wasn't it wasn't Golden Guardians or Echo Fox.
Let's see. All right. Well, I'll look it up. The next matchup, Fox versus TSM, because we don't think Clutch Gaming is going to make it. So who wins this one?
I think TSM.
Yeah.
I think TSM takes it.
Why is that? Why don't you think Echo Fox can? Okay, besides the script, why don't you think Echo Fox?
Strong? The bot lane. I think the bot lane is too big of a disadvantage, and I think mid lane is a really big disadvantage. The way Bjergsen has been playing, he had an interview yesterday, and he's like, "I don't think I've been doing anything differently," and I'm like,
He's been playing like crazy.
I was like, dude, it looks like you're smurfing. Like, what the fuck? Like, Bjergsen had, I think, went like 15-1 and 17 yesterday or something, or like last week I was just like, what the hell? Like, I think it's really good. And it's just Sven and Mithy, I feel like either beats Altic and Adrian or beats Altic and Papa Chow, right? Whoever ends up being. I think handedly too. So not just that, TSM, even in their slump, took Echo Fox to the distance, right? They were 10K up and then they threw the game. Sure, but like if you give them that right now, they don't lose. So I actually think it'll be a 3-0 by TSM.
So I think it will be a 3-2. The reason why I say, and I give it to TSM, I'm kind of being spicy, but I think that Echo Fox, even though all the shade that I threw at them at the beginning of the episode, I think they will come out strong and potentially better. And I think Huni is going to try so hard, and I think Dardoch is going to play so well, but I think they're still going to fall short because of the reasons that you said.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. I mean, again, saying 3-0, it sounds like it's a stomp. I think it'll be good close games. I just see TSM consistently beating Echo Fox at the state they are in. Yeah. Right. If they falter, if they don't play at their high, then it gets a little bit tougher. And yeah, again, I could see them lose a game, but I don't know. I feel like part of me just feels like it's gonna be a 3-0. I also don't want a heart attack during that game, so I'll just go with the 3-0.
I will say the way that Echo Fox wins this game is they had to burn Mike Young's hoodie and super glue his feet into his shoes so he can't take them off during the match.
That's very true. That's how you get them.
And for those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, it's this whole like Mike Young did an interview and he's like, I just keep my hoodie on, I play with my fidget spinner, and I take off my shoes during matches, and suddenly he's Superman again. You know, he's the Mike Young we all wanted him to be.
That's all he needs to do. So with that in mind, third place would be spicy.
Yeah.
The third, fourth place match, because the reason we do play them in League of Legends is because seeding matters a lot when it comes to trying to make it into Worlds. So you have Team Liquid versus Fox. Now, for the meme to occur, Fox should win. Is that what you're going for? Is that the spiciness you're hitting me with?
You know, after our discussion, like right now I have Team Liquid winning that, but after our discussion, I think you've convinced me a little bit more, and talking, I'm an external processor, right? I actually do think now Fox wins this one over Team Liquid, and the meme is just too strong. The script is too strong. So yeah, I will change it. I will change it. I think Fox wins this one. I think it's 3-2. I think it is close. I think it is actually close because of both of the team's weaknesses. Yeah.
Yep. So again, because I said C9 will make it, I think it would be C9 versus Fox. I still actually have Echo Fox winning the game because, like stated, I don't know, everything will be played in 8.5, and C9 haven't been looking too hot on it. And again, if Licorice has to play a tank v tank matchup or a tank into Huni, I don't see a way you win that game. I still think it'll be a 3-2 win as well. I think it'll be very close at this point. And then spoiler alert, I think it's going to be 3-2, whichever one we like, this third and fourth or finals.
All right. Okay, cool. So then for the finals, that means we both agree on 100 Thieves versus TSM. I have 100 Thieves. You say you don't care who wins, whatever that means.
No. So you didn't. I said I don't care who wins. Parentheses TSM. So the way I did predictions is I need to see this final. I think this would be the best final we'd have.
Yeah.
Because like we've had some really good finals between C9, TSM. Immortals versus TSM was pretty good, but like TSM ended up coming quite ahead with that. But holy shit, these two teams seem like the powerhouse. And I don't know. I think it would be really, really cool for like, I only said I don't care because I think either team will represent NA properly.
What do you mean lose?
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna beat the Koreans, but I think they'll do decent, right? I don't think they'll be awful. It's hard to gauge exactly where NA is at the moment, but I think NA's in a good spot. I still think TSM will win, and if they do, it's gonna be 3-2.
All right. So what makes you think that TSM is better than 100 Thieves in this matchup? I mean, we've talked a lot about 100 Thieves and TSM.
It's
when you compare
it's just so rough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fucking, you have Prolly versus Coach Song. They're pretty even on that aspect, right? You have Someday and Honster. They're pretty even in that aspect. I think Honster might take it a couple more times just because he's a little bit more consistent in lane. Key emphasis in lane. Medias versus Mike Young, dude, that's hype as fuck. I think they're pretty even, especially if Mike Young keeps going up, right? Okay. And if Medias is there, I think I'd take Bjergsen over Ryu.
Yeah,
that's like my main like tilting point. And then if Cody-san is as good as he's been, it's tough, right? To pit him against. I don't know. It's just so close, dude. I'm just saying. I think TSM has the edge 3 out of 5 times. You know?
Sure, yeah, exactly 3 out of 5 times.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't tell me if we go to a best of 7, this is gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I don't know at that point. This is a whole different ballpark. But I don't know. I think just their ceiling is so high, right? We have like caliber players, and I don't know. I mean, what if Aframu is not in his game, right? He and I'm not saying he won't be, but it's like it happens for both teams, right? If either side is not on their game that day, they're kind of fucked, right? And the thing is, I take TSM with their players because 4 out of 5 of them have been in finals consistently for the past 3 years. You know, maybe even more. I think 3 years is pretty accurate. 2 years to be exactly. They're in that environment all the time, right? They thrive in it. Kind of. So I think they just might have the edge in that aspect.
Sure. Yeah, I think that the mid lane matchup is definitely frightening, right? And I'm so curious at what Prolly's going to do and how Rio will prep for it, but how Prolly's going to like, is he going to let Syndra go through? Or what is he going to let go through? Is he going to let Galio go through knowing that they've beaten that Galio by playing this weird team comp, but then Song knows that probably knows how to draft against that team comp, so what's going to happen there? But yeah, like the mid lane matchup scares me. I actually think 100 Thieves bot lane has the advantage. I think Mithy and Sven's, actually, I would say Mithy's dyssynergy or dissonance with the rest of the team that has shown previously, again, this is ignoring like the recent weeks, because they are on the up and up. Right?
Yeah, this is ignoring everything that happened yesterday.
Because I'm actually talking about their floor. You're talking about their ceiling. I'm talking about their floor now. I think Mithy can get beaten by Aframu. And I think Aframu just works so well with the rest of 100 Thieves as a leader and shot caller that I think I'm not worried about that bot lane. And Cody-san, we keep seeing like, he's not doing anything crazy, but he keeps putting up crazy damage stats, and the rest of his steps, he's like 1, number 2, number 3. And I think it's just basically Cody-san's just playing really, really well. It's not that he's not being challenged. I think he's just playing really, really well, positioning smart. That might look passive sometimes, but then he goes aggressive when he needs to.
I think that point is the best thing about Cody-san, his positioning.
Yeah.
Everything else, anyone else can do, but his positioning is just on point right now.
And then but go ahead.
To also counteract real quick, who has the lowest floor? 100 Thieves or TSM? Because I'm gonna just real quick hit you with this one. 100 Thieves lost to Golden Guardians for the first time. Golden Guardians got to win. And that's when they went to the 4-game losing streak, 5-game losing streak. So again, I do agree, and I'm not trying to. I really am not going to try to sway you with this because I think it'll be interesting to see who wins. I mean, we might both be wrong. Neither of these teams fucking make it to the finals. We're like, all right, well, but I do think like I want to see both these teams in their prime fighting against each other.
Please, holy moly.
I 100% goes to best of 5. And it's just like a fight literally from coach all the way down.
Yeah. Every single person.
What I mean? Like I don't see like it's not like huge glaring weaknesses because I agree with you. Like, yeah, okay, C9. The thing is like in lane, Sven and Mithy know what they're doing in that lane.
Yeah.
Without even needing to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I think like that's like one of their advantages. It's so close, right? And I mean, that's why I give it to TSM, and obviously that's why you give it to 100 Thieves, right?
Yeah.
Now, it's just I'm so excited. I just want it to be that time. I don't care about any other matches. I really wanted to see 100 Thieves versus TSM yesterday.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, did that tiebreaker scenario happen? Yeah. I think this is the interesting part too, because TSM is on the up and up, and we know like they're just scary, right? The names like behind them. I feel like 100 Thieves legitimately haven't been tested yet, like at their prime. I don't think TSM has either, really, when they've been like just stomping games. Because I think 100 Thieves, like even though the games might seem close, I feel like 100 Thieves like, no, we got this. We're fine. We're cool, calm, and collected. We know we're just waiting. Okay, Baron, take it. Good. We're gonna finish the game. Like that's what they do. TSM just so I want to see both, like you said, at both of their primes, because I don't know what happens when 100 Thieves at macro play gets matched by TSMs, you know? And they get stopped at some points and they're trading kills across. I could see these games being like, they could be super, super bloody, or like nothing happens for 25 minutes and then like the game ends.
Yeah. And I mean, something that I was reminded of yesterday with the Echo Fox 100 Thieves game was that 100 Thieves let Skarner open, right? Because they knew Dardoch wouldn't play it, right? And they're like, well, we can just play Zach into, his Sejuani, whatever. It doesn't really matter. And they won that. They ended up winning that first game, right? It was 50 minutes long, but you put TSM in that scenario, you can't let Skarner go because Mike Young looks ridiculously strong on Skarner. And then if you don't first pick Zach, Mike Young is going to first pick Zach. It's just like, it changes everything so drastically. And I think these are currently the top 2 teams going in. And I said it at the beginning, right? Even though the standings didn't show that, I still think you don't want to verse 100 Thieves, and I don't think you want to verse TSM.
Nope. I think everyone agrees with that. Even before week 9 started, everyone's like, people don't want to be against TSM. Like if TSM ended like 6 somehow and they still looked the way they did, like everyone would still be scared of TSM, because I think players have been talking about in interviews or behind the scenes that TSM have been looking really good in scrims. So it's everyone's like behind the scenes are starting to get more and more scared of TSM as TSM was rising in the rankings every week from like week 6 or something.
Oof. I mean, Aframu was like, oh, TSM will be fine, right? Like when they were in their like 2-5 slump or whatever, 2-4 slump. And when Pobelter was interviewed Saturday after they finally clinched playoffs, TSM hadn't clinched yet, and he's like, well, are you happy to be going into playoffs? He's like, yeah, of course. And in Avali asks, well, who's the team you're most scared of going into them? He's like, TSM for sure. TSM hadn't even been locked in. Like there was still like that small possibility TSM wouldn't have made playoffs. Like he's like, TSM for sure, right? And it's like, again, you really don't want to verse this team. It feels like TSM are kind of like becoming like the Patriots of the LCS. It's like, God damn, it's always TSM, man. Fuck TSM. Everyone hates TSM, but TSM fans, right? yeah, at the same time, you're like, we don't want to verse that team. But
Can
if
someone
you beat
else
them,
knock them out, please?
yeah. It's like if you beat them, you're like, fuck yeah, dude, we did it. But you don't want to be the team that has to go into that 50-50, right?
Mhm.
And the way they've seen, I think they're a really scary team, right? And part of me still feels like there is a chance for the C9 versus TSM finals. So I will say that as my backup prediction, that will be the finals, and it'll be TSM 3-2 due to one final fight for the second Elder Dragon, where
Jensen throws.
Jensen just forgets to press some button, whether it's Flash, whether it's Heal, whether it's Zanya's, and dies, and then the team
I
fight just
don't want to
loses.
see another gif of Jensen like shaking. I'm like, it's so sad.
It's
I
so
don't want to see
heartbreaking. No,
that.
it's either gonna be Jensen, Sven Skaren, or Licorice is gonna like have an awful TP or something, gets fucking destroyed. It's a 4v5. TSM just march on to win. That'll be my backup, dude. There's no other team but C9 makes, in my opinion, the other team, like aside from like 100 Thieves in that side of the bracket, makes it but C9.
All right, cool. So those were our spicy predictions. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below, or tweet us at our Twitter handles, which are also in the episode description if you guys want to contact us, or let us know how we're doing, give us feedback, or tell us like, hey, you guys are dumb, and we'll be like, all right, cool. And it'll be fun. So let us know what you guys think. And I think that is it for this episode of Eye of the Watchers. So we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.